This guy, the big guy. For many of you, this is going to be your first and last stop when you're looking for an e-ink device. This is one of those devices which on ePaper has everything. Let's start with a bit of a TLDR, a quick summary, and meanwhile grab yourself a drink and a snack and share this video up to your 4K TV, because here's everything I know about the Boox Note Max. The Boox Note Max. If you're a professional and you need a big screen for reading A4 documents, this is the choice for you. It's a 13.3-inch display with a high resolution. That's Carta 1300 e-ink with 300 ppi and great contrast. And what's more, it's an incredibly versatile tablet because it's got full Google Play Store and access to all Android apps. However, it's big, so that might reduce the portability, and it doesn't have a front light, and that could be limiting if you do need to work in low light environments. But if you need to work on large documents and reference them regularly, and you want the option to go into split screen mode, this could well be the tablet for you. There's just something about this recipe. Basically A4 size, 300 pixels per inch, e-ink screen with a great stylus. Yeah, lots to get excited about. So the Boox Note Max is here, and well, I couldn't resist getting out of the box, and I don't have all that much time, but I'm just gonna whip it out of the box and have a quick look at it. But if you guys have questions, then I'll try my best to answer as many questions as I can in the comments section below. So go ahead and fire them down there. And then I'll come back to the live stream probably on Thursday night, so I hope to see you there. This is the big one really, isn't it? This is a 13.3 inch, that's an A4 size Carta 1300 screen. That's what we're excited about this for. It's the best black and white e-ink screen, with no front light on the whole thing, which means it's gonna have that really paper-like experience. Turn my other lights on, it's a bit better. That really paper-like experience where you're gonna have a very close screen to pen distance. Let's get it out of the box. Wow, it's big. The thing is, this is this size, 13.3-inch screen, but just as thin as the Go 10.3. And the Go 10.3 has been my #1 e-ink tablet to recommend to people for some time. Wowzers. It's got a more squared off edge than the Go 10.3. Not got much time for comparisons today, but really quickly, just the size comparison there. It's a lot more room. And it's going to have the same pen as this Go 10.3 as well, which you do get in the box. A slightly darker grey to match the bezel, and the bezel matches the colour of the e-ink screen background as well. That is the Carta 1300 screen. That is the best black and white screen you can currently get. Our button up top there, which I don't think is a fingerprint sensor this time. Now this is the thing here, this is $649.99, it's now showing on Boox.com, and it's 699 euros. But that is a bundle, I believe, with the pen and with the cover as well. So you're getting quite a lot here for the base price of a Manta or Remarkable. I just want to say thank you to Boox, of course, who send these things out for review with absolutely no strings attached. And that's one of the reasons why I love working with them. They just literally send them out and say, we're looking forward to hearing your feedback. But remember, I make these videos for you. Now, if you're interested in buying one of these, then please consider using my affiliate links in the description below. Because if you buy through those links, then I earn a small commission, and that revenue allows me to make these videos here. As said before, they don't get any input, they don't get to check this video before it goes out, and I'm not paid for anything that I review on this channel. That being said, I'm very excited to get this out of the box today. This is one that I, like you guys, have been looking forward to quite a lot. Boox haven't made a tablet at this size for some time. My first thoughts are oh well, it's absolutely massive. It doesn't have the texture back of the Go 10.3, but it does have the same look. And they are keying this in with the Note lineup rather than with the Go lineup, because, well, it is such a large thing. I'll be back with some really in-depth content of this, as well as an evening where I will live stream with you guys and answer any and all questions that you might have about it. They haven't actually sent the keyboard folio this time, which was something that I was certainly looking forward to trying, but hopefully that will come along in the not too distant future. But the book folio here looks very similar to what we're getting in the Note Air lineup, but there's no origami case for setting up vertically. But there we are, it does fit like that. And that should still give you plenty of real estate for two A5 documents side by side. It's going to be something else really, isn't it? It's disappointing straight away to see though that they haven't actually played with the user interface much since the Tab X, and they've just scaled everything up rather than actually making apps that make sense at the right size on this side of screen. I'll also do my members footage this evening, so I'll get that out as soon as possible as well. And the thing is that I can't help but recommend this. For me, this is about the type of workflow when you're going to work in split screen with one document here on one side and a note taker on the other side. I think it's going to work really well. I can't help but think when you guys ask about the type of workflows that you're interested in for researchers, writers, academics, note-taking for organization, I can't help but think this might be the right answer for many of you. If this size makes sense to you, either on your desk or in your laptop bag, then yeah, it's going to be an absolute brilliant thing. I think some of the highlights of this are it's still got that 2.8 gigahertz octa-core processor, so that's a really good processor. It's got the Boox Super Refresh. It's 300 pixels per inch at this size. It's the first time I've seen an e-ink tablet at this size with 300 pixels per inch, and yeah, I can tell you my first impressions of that experience are really positive. They're still not available on the websites, as I can see here, so you will have to be waiting and seeing anyway, so stay tuned for lots of content on the Boox Note Max coming soon. Let me know your questions and your comments. I will do my very best to answer as many of them as I can, but it is still holiday time. I am still taking most of my time for my family. I was just so excited to get this out of the box and see. Let me know what you think about this really quick first look of this incredibly thin, but also incredibly large and powerful e-ink tablet. I focus a lot on comparisons on this channel, which people find very useful. And sure, I mean, you saw how excited I was. So maybe there was going to be an inevitable come down, which led me to feel a little bit disappointed. And now, after the longer term of using the device, well, you'll see as the video progresses that this guy has actually made its way firmly into my list of recommendations, and it's secured its spot on my desk for lots of reasons. It sure is Max, but has it lived up to the very high expectations we had of the Boox Note Max? Because I can tell you of another device which has. I've certainly been enjoying having lots more space to lay out all of my thoughts as well. The bright side of mathematics there. Some people really excited. Good to see JF. Yeah, lots of folks just ordered theirs. It is now available and there is a link in the description there as well. I do use affiliate links. I've got affiliate for all of the devices I think that I'm going to be comparing this to today. There's no reason for me to want you to buy one device over another, and there's no reason for me to really want you to buy a device, and I've talked about it quite a bit. If you're already a user of an e-ink tablet, then definitely stick with the one that you're with, because they're all really, really good in my opinion. I do, however, know that it has changed my life. It has changed the way that I work. Here I am working away. These are my notes for the live stream in OneNote, and I've made it majority on this device. Although you can see the stuff that I've written on this device looks really good, and the stuff that I've actually written on my Z Fold Galaxy phone is actually really poor, even though it uses this was written on my phone there, doesn't look as good as the stuff that was written here on the Boox Note Max. Even though the Z Fold is using the same type of stylus, Wacom EMR stylus, it's just so good to write on something that looks like ink on paper, that feels a bit like paper. It's really, really good. So I do earn from affiliate links. So if you do decide this is right for you, please, if you want to support the channel, if you like what I do, go ahead and use those links in the description. Mashup Mike says, yeah, buy both. We're going to be talking about the Boox Note Max today, and we're going to discuss whether this is actually the pro level device. This is one of my favorite designs in all of the ink tablets so far. It really is something quite special, and it's bigger than an iPad 13, and it is thinner than an iPad 13 as well. It's 4.6 millimeters thin, and it's got a really, really nice design. I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to be robust enough. It certainly feels robust enough. I think they've gone for a stiffer material on the back rather than the softer feeling material on the Go 10.3. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the overall design of the device. It's got a nice case. Even within the case, it does feel still thin and light. The case is nicely designed. I like the green accents. It's pretty swish. Yeah, it's nice and thin still, even when it is in the case. It does have the magnetic snap of the pen, although it's not ideal. It's not bad. It's, you know, it's on there, but there's no flap at all now. Not even a removable flap, which I don't dislike, but it does mean that you're going to have to think about your pen as it goes in and out of the bag. There's no fingerprint unlock, and I haven't, because it hasn't left the house yet, I haven't put a PIN code on it yet, but I will put a PIN code on it when I go to work, and I would have preferred a PIN code unlock. That's something you probably would expect from a pro level device. In the run up to this, I obviously made my members live testing, or my members testing, and I wrote these bits out during that testing, and I thought, okay, to prepare for this, what I'll do is I'll just get it to OCR this, I'll get it to, you know, go through and do the text recognition here. And well, here's what it came up with. As you can see, quite a disappointing bit of text. Not really exactly what I wrote there. So I thought, well, I can't use that in my notes. It's one of these, is an emoji. I mean, it's just not what I wrote, right? But then what I thought is, well, okay, this is a Boox tablet, so I can put any Android app onto it, and I can go ahead and screenshot it and put it through ChatGPT, which of course will generally do a better job of analyzing and guessing what I've actually written down there. So I did that, but unfortunately, when I went to the Play Store and tried to download ChatGPT, then I found that no, it is not compatible with this tablet. So you can't install ChatGPT on it, which is a nuisance, right? Okay, now might be more kind of a fuel for some kind of conspiracy theories there. The AI assistant certainly in this iteration is using the AI model OpenAI up here. So it's not that it's somebody is stopping us using OpenAI on this tablet, because there it is. But sure enough, I checked on other Boox tablets and you can't actually download the ChatGPT app onto a Boox tablet, which is a bit of a nuisance. So what I did was I screenshotted it and used it on the computer, and ChatGPT did do a good job then of working out my handwriting and giving me something sensible. I could, and I probably will install an APK of ChatGPT, but I would rather have that actually managed on device. Now, as you can see, nipping backwards and forwards between different apps is really good on here because it's got a really good processor on it. It's got a 2.8 gigahertz processor, which is great for e-ink. It's got the BSR, but hold your horses on that. There's something funny about that as well. Now Neil says, hang on a minute, it's heavier than an iPad Pro 13. It isn't heavy, and for its size, it is really light. It feels really light. Sure, we're not talking the plastic Manta kind of level of lightness. We're talking about a larger device with quite a bit of aluminium in there. It is getting more popular. And yeah, this is another 13.3 inch device. Yeah, too large for note taking. Interesting. Yeah, for some, yeah, I think this is it. I think that a lot of people are finding they like e-ink so much that actually having a couple of devices around isn't necessarily a bad thing. So this amazing, this versatile, thin and light tablet, it might be my favorite design yet. It has BSR. I did wonder if that was part of a future update, but I asked, are you actually going to change this? When I go into the e-ink settings, I don't get the normal BSR modes. In fact, all I get is normal and A2 mode, and then sometimes the Regal mode pops up. Now that surprised me, because what you have in BSR devices is you have Regal, balanced, fast and ultra fast. You don't have that in here for some reason. You have normal and A2. And actually I'm finding that in both modes, I'm seeing more ghosting than I would expect. This is really, really odd. And I asked and I said, are you actually planning on adding those modes? Have I got an early firmware version here that is actually not the rollout firmware? Have I got a pre-release firmware? And they say no, those are the modes it's going to have, and it's not going to change, but it does have BSR in there. So I don't understand, because I'm certainly missing balance mode. Balanced mode normally looks better than this on devices I've used with BSR. So that's my first kind of point there. And when you come to the comparisons, you're going to notice something which I think was maybe just about evident in my first launch video, but certainly evident in my members testing video, that actually the background of this screen actually doesn't look as bright as some other devices. Is it time to upgrade from the Sony DPT-R1? Yes, I think probably, although that was a great high watermark, certainly for screen feel. And if I was to do a comparison between the Sony DPT screen feel and this, I would probably still say that screen feel was really, really good, and probably still just pips this one. The Quaderno Gen 3C, yeah, I would love to see that, but it's just not available in the West at all. I can't even see it on eBay. I did consider, perhaps they've not included those BSR modes for battery saving reasons, is one thing I thought. But personally, I'd say I'm missing that. I'm missing that balance mode, I really am. However, really good things about it. Writing latency feels really, really good. It's incredibly quick. Getting around the device is quick. Let's go to the actual notebook here. Using it with the sheer space is good. These are my sort of my diagonal line test I always do. That feels just as good as it does on things that have the Wacom EMR. And I'm not getting much, if any, interference from the case itself. This is with the case on these lines here. Little bit of a wobble at the top here. I take that out of the case now, which is a nice device to hold in one hand. You know, even for its size, really still feels great. It's just done its auto rotate thing there. And I go to the ones that I've done out of the case, and you can see I don't get that wobble so much at the top there. But I'm certainly not getting that jitter that you get on a tablet that has a USI stylus or any kind of capacitive stylus where it's going across the digitizer and producing those zigzag lines. There's a nice and straight lines look, really looking quite good. Can you see the ghosting I'm talking about? I can see a lot of ghosting here IRL, whether you guys can see that on the feed as well. There you go. Can you see that in the background there? That's more ghosting than I would expect from a BSR device. Now I'm in normal mode, so that should be better. If I go to A2 mode, I should get heavier ghosting, but it should be quicker. You can still see some ghosting there. It actually doesn't look as bad, to be honest. But there we are. So very odd things there. Stuff that I wasn't expecting from this. And I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to compare it to the Manta. When the Manta came along, the Manta was exactly what I was expecting it to be. That's the Supernote A5X2 Manta. Now the interesting thing for me is these are two devices that I've been incredibly hyped to see. Incredibly hyped, you know, really excited. I know you guys are too. I'm really excited to make the content for you guys as well. This has got an incredible screen feel, all of the things. And we'd seen quite a lot and heard quite a lot about both these devices before they arrived. And the Manta was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Whereas the Note Max has a few things where I'm slightly surprised about it. And this is the first kind of comparison that we're going to do today. And you can see here, this looks lighter across here on the Manta than it does across here on the Note Max. And that is consistent. These are both Carter 1300 screens, and it is slightly lighter, the background on the Manta than it is on the Note Max. And I don't know why that is. Yeah, I'm surprised about that. Whereas this guy, the Manta, was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I'm going to talk a lot in the next few weeks and months about what I think is the best here in the world of e-ink tablets, but I'm going to be working on them and living with them before I do that. But yeah, one thing I can say is that the first little while, the Note Max hasn't quite done what I expected it to be. With those two things, slightly darker screen, no normal BSR modes, no balanced mode, which is the mode that I just leave BSR devices in pretty much and just am happy with. But you can see, lovely big space to write, lovely space for drawing, just drawing away. There's a popular football pundit, by the way, that guy doesn't look much like him, but great drawing on the Manta as well. But certainly there are going to be massive positives about this size, you know, this screen here. I was expecting that the new Boox devices were maybe going to blow away the Manta, but living with the Manta for some time at this point, I'm still really enjoying it, and it's done exactly what I thought it was going to do, which is a key thing there. And you can already check out my top 10 to find out which device I am now recommending as the best e-ink tablet you can buy right now. No spoilers here, but I'm sure you'll have lots of fun watching that. It's been a very popular video. And the Manta, sure, they took their time, but they really did produce a refined piece of technology here. I'm sure it would have been easier and made a lot more financial sense for Supernote to develop things more quickly and release maybe a new device every year. But what they are doing is they're sticking to their guns, they're developing their software and keeping their devices fresh with new updates, which their community are actually asking for. That being said, there is a lot to love about the big Boox Note Max. You just might have to expect a little bit more of a learning curve before you can do exactly what you want with it. And maybe a few rougher edges with the software. You don't have a DPI option for native apps. So for example, this was a surprise, if I go to the Google Play Store, you see how tiny the writing is. Okay, it's a big screen, sure. Now normally you get a setting in here where you can optimize and you can change the DPI settings, right? Now it says optimize is not available for system apps, and unfortunately Play Store is considered a system app. A DPI setting means that you can change what the app presumes the native resolution is, and that will mean that it will show larger text. And unfortunately, if you change the system font size, it doesn't change the system font size within Google Play. So you get this real difficulty where you've got like Google Play with tiny, tiny text, and you can't change that. So, you know, it's just little things like that which aren't quite what I would have expected it to be. With the release of the Note Max and the Note Air 4C, they debuted a lot of great new features. So let's have a look at some of my favorites next. Boox OS 4.0 has come with some pretty cool improvements actually, and no one's really talking about this one, which is a bit of a game changer. I hope Boox do bring it to all of the previous devices, and I'll go through all of those new features in this quick video here. But I just want to first of all talk about this. Well, not only the Boox Note Max have you got all of the space that you could possibly want on a 13.3-inch canvas, but I love the new margins control they've added, and it seems to have addressed something that people have complained about Boox before. It used to be called canvas size, but the way it works now is here in margins, you get this view, and you can drag out in any direction you like to get yourself a little more space. You can choose whether to apply it to just this current page or all of the pages in the whole document. You see, in this one, I've actually got basically an infinite canvas to use, and I can pinch and zoom around. It actually reminds me of what I was using on the QuirkLogic paper. The infinite canvas on a 13.3 was a really good time. One thing I'm not so keen on though is using pinch to zoom, because I do often leave touch completely disabled when I'm using the pen a lot to make sure that I don't get any palm touches. But I don't think that's a major issue. It's not regularly when I'm writing that I have issues with palm recognition. So only occasionally do I get those accidental touches. And I see them more often when I use OneNote, and actually OneNote is what I really most often make notes on in this tablet, which of course does have that infinite scroll feature. So yeah, margins, and then you can see your default view, and you can expand it out in each direction to give you whatever size of page you want to be using to add your notes in any different direction. I think that's quite a nice improvement there. The way it used to work was just that you could expand in either direction 2 times. So you could have twice the length vertically, or you could have twice the width horizontally, or both. But that was all. So on the one hand, that's a tool that they've had for some time, but they've improved it to make it a bit more intuitive. But tools like, for instance, to add something into the outline, you have to hold down on the blank space in the notebook, and I've been there myself and I've seen other people struggle to find that feature. Then you have to type in a name for your part of the outline, confirm which page number you'd like, which by default sets it to itself. You can write in with the handwriting recognition, and then it adds it to the outline, which is like a table of contents in the Supernote, but it's just not as elegant as it could be. Hopefully after living with that for a little while, they'll figure out ways to make that have fewer key presses. As you're able to use the handwriting recognition anyway, perhaps you could select a heading that you'd already written onto the notebook and it would recognize that and put that into the outline. That would make perfect sense for me. It could easily just be added to the link palette as well, and I think that's where everyone was expecting to see it there. So let's have a look at some of the other features they've added this time around. That for me is the highlight of the update 4.0, but there are other improvements as well, such as improved power management. And I have noticed that on this device, the Note Max and the Note Air 4C, that battery life is better than it was. And I've been getting 20% out of a day of this since I've been using it at work. So that's okay. That is just about gonna scrape me through a week at work. But your mileage is still gonna really vary by what you actually do on the device. If you're mainly reading, you're going to get excellent battery life out of most e-ink tablets. If you're going to be using apps with dynamic content, such as Outlook or OneNote or videos, for instance, or doing lots of pen input, then you're going to find that battery life goes down quite a bit. And with the built-in BSR technology, you're not going to find one of the battery life champions here on the Note X, or indeed the Air 4C. It does allow you to import a PDF as a template, and you can see here my 2-week planner as a template here, the PDF. But what it doesn't let you do, as far as I can see, is let you have multiple pages of that. A couple of things to add, a couple of mistakes I made. And incidentally, these came from watching Boox's own tutorial on their software 4.0. So I do strongly recommend that actually you not only read the manual of your device, but subscribe to Boox's channel, because they do make some really nice content which shows you how to use their devices. And for them, that's the best marketing really, is showing you all the powerful things you can do with their devices. But also it's just blooming useful for you guys as users of the tech. You can import a multiple page PDF to be the template in your notes, but it just works slightly differently to the way that I was doing it. So when you make a new note, if you do it through the full menu, well, you've got a useful thing that you can just double tap create to make a at least they showed off something where you could double tap create to make a quick note. But you have the option to make a quick note, which takes you straight into writing, and you can do all the template and the title afterwards. But also you can create from local file here. So when I do that and I go and I get my 2-week planner here, now that makes a new note using the full background of all of those pages. So there we go, that is great. Although it's the background is already my full PDF with my thing there. But if I was to use a blank one, then that would just be a background for the whole file. And now you've got within that PDF, all the hyperlinks should work. And you've got all of the powerful tools, like for instance, I want to get a little bit more room to the side of my page. Very useful. Now I have a bit of extra space to annotate on the side of my page there. Lots of things to like in software 4.0, you just have to find them. And you can go and get your template from anywhere on the device. You don't have to have it in a templates folder anymore. In the Notes app, they have added more shapes. This is not something that I'm really bothered about, to be quite honest. I've probably got it off. Yeah, I've got Shape Perfection and Lasso and Scribble to Erase off, because when I draw on a tablet, I don't want it doing any of these Smart Scribe functions. That's quite nice. They've added, now you can, after the effect, you can change those. So what other shapes have I got then? That became a circle, like an oval there. So how easy is it to distinguish between a perfect circle then? Didn't get that at all. Doesn't seem to be a snap there. If that's important to you, then that's important to you. There's also arrows, which if you were somebody who needed this shape perfection, that makes perfect sense, because now you can build out yourself some diagrams with connecting arrows. Yeah, let me know if that's important to you or not. They changed the pen thicknesses rather than it to be a number, which I was quite used to. They've now gone for millimeter scales, which that does make sense, because if you're into stationery, you probably do know pen and pencil thicknesses by their millimeter scale. So 0.7 pen would be an absolutely normal size of pen to use. And they've got some options for add page now. So do I hold it down or do I? There we go. So they've changed the way this works here. And there's a quick access to templates, which is quite nice, where to put it, and you can bring in, okay, nicely pages from images or from other notebooks. Cool. And they also added templates in landscape mode, which is welcome. I don't use a lot of templates, I'll be honest. I'm still working on a PDF and I'm quite happy with that workflow really. But let's go ahead and test out the landscape mode templates if that's important to you. Yeah, you see, got a whole bunch that is defaulted to landscape. Here, let's do, looks like that's music scale or something, isn't it? Just a handwriting. It doesn't seem to be just a set of ruled lines. Again, they're on paper, but when you actually use the thing, you think, gosh, it's not that well implemented. One thing they have also added, which I think is welcome, but whether they've done it well is another question. They've added the option to add pages to an outline. So this is like headings in a Supernote. Now what we would have expected and what you can do in a Supernote is you select your heading and then you add that to an outline. So what I would like to see Boox do is add the option to outline, recognize that text if necessary, or just give me that image in my outline. The way they've chosen to do it is to add this page to the outline. You hold down anywhere in a blank part of the page and go add to outline, and then you need to manually write in your outline title. That's just more steps than it needs to be really, but it is there. And that is now an option that you've got this outline that you can actually manually build out your table of contents. So I do think that that is welcome and that is an acceptable way to manage your content in your note-taking tablet. I think that is an important feature. I do think that they've still got a way to go to make it just elegantly integrated into the way that the thing works. In Neo Reader, they've added two important features though. They've got preset reading modes now, which you can see are not easy to find. The reading themes are actually only in reflowable documents. So I've got a reflowable document here. This is Resurrection by Tolstoy. And so in reflow documents, you get not only the handy little theme palette there, but also in the menu, you get this palette in style. So contents is your by default part here. Doesn't have a full table of contents. Nice, it does, brilliant. But you also have styles, which can change the whole reading theme. Original, bold, night, and then your own customizable one with whichever text size that you prefer, with whichever font you prefer as well, including your own custom ones if you'd like to add them onto the device. I think that's quite a nice little function there for reflowable documents. Now I do like that about Boox, but it's both a strength and a weakness. Complexity is a strength. If you need a tool, it's likely to be there, but it is a weakness because you do, at least early on in using a Boox, spend a bit of time getting to know your tablet and how it works. It's nice to see that the OCR text recognition works in the background because they did add this double tap to recognize, which I don't know if I've got that on. On currently, and now if that can happen in the background, yes, that's quite nice. So I wonder then, will that work for longer bits of writing? So I remember doing this and finding that although it could recognize the text, it took a long time and it was just doing it, and I couldn't do anything else with, yeah, did it quite well. I couldn't do anything else with the tablet whilst it was doing that. Hasn't quite done it, I would say, in the background, but I suppose if it was a longer piece, good, and I can easily bring those back. Did it quite quickly. I don't know about it being in the background, but it certainly did manage to do it all quite quickly. And I don't know why on earth it's defaulted to 2-point text. That's very large for 8-point text as well, right? Mostly that's okay though. One word wrong, scruffy, not smutty. Print out the letter rather than litter using the, I think that was, I'm not sure what that was, tablet, if it recognised this in the background, so it's not too bad. 3 words. I think the usefulness of that will be more for recognising a PDF, which is a scan maybe, so it doesn't actually have digital type within it. This is a scan, not text. There we are, so I eventually found out where to do it. Double tap didn't seem to work on this one, but there we are. It's going to do that in the background. That's not in the background. Oh yes, now it is in the background. But I had to press prioritize current page, but now it has got it and it has recognized it. And I can carry on doing things and you can see it doing it in the background. The OCR in the background does work absolutely fine. So when you start doing OCR on a document, it does pop up with a little dialog box and there's just a minimize window and then it hangs out there in the corner. The option is there, it's just not always obvious where they've put it. So that might well be very, very useful to you if that is part of your workflow. Should spend a bit of time on this book really, shouldn't I? And then lastly, they showed off scrolling screenshots. So in the palette here, you have screenshot, but also scrolling screenshot. Now the purpose of that is, let's say you're in a web page. And I go scrolling screenshot. It will now keep screenshotting whilst I scroll the web page until I stop, and then it should deliver me the whole web page. Although where is that is another question. Here it is, but it's totally blank. Try again. Maybe I need to do it through their own browser. Let's try that. That would make sense. I mean, it is capturing a screenshot of part of a page. No, does not support it. But that has now given me an actual screenshot that I can use if I do need to do that. Useful things, but the most useful thing is that margins tool, being able to zoom out and essentially now have what I think a lot of you have always wanted, which is a unlimited zoom and unlimited canvas to your notes. Might just be a good exercise for me actually, just to draw over the top of this, guys. Just to get used to the different shapes and things. Oh yeah. I'm incredibly interested in this technology. E-ink seems a bit like magic at times. So you can forgive me for having a really in-depth look at the screen and how it performs. It might seem a little bit nitpicky at times, but my community and I, we wanted to have a really in-depth look at how this screen was performing against some of the alternatives. But you can see, living with it for some time, isn't it really clear and crisp? Especially when you give it lots of natural light like we're doing today. It has been pretty surprising that the Note Max is actually darker than we were expecting. The screen background is darker than other Carta 1300 devices we've used. It's darker even than Carta 1200 devices that we've used. And time will tell just how much of an issue that will be. I mean, it hasn't got a front light, but that's why I'm here in the orangery for this little bit, because give it plenty of light and it just won't be an issue at all. And yeah, as I say, I'll live with this for some time and I'll let you know. But certainly the screen size and the pen feel, everything, the speed of response to the screen, all of those things are way better than what we've had before. Again, it's not a major issue. It's not something I think, it shouldn't stop you from buying or enjoying this one. It's something to be aware of, that maybe it's not the perfect device. But there's it side by side with the Go 10.3, and the Viwoods was the one that really was noticeably lighter than both of them, and a more pleasing color as well, I would say. It shouldn't just make you think, God, no. You know you're gonna have to light it well anyway, because it's not got a front light. It shouldn't totally put you off, in my opinion. It's possible that I got a slightly darker one, maybe because of manufacturing tolerances. I've looked at other people's videos and I kind of see that their screen is slightly lighter than the outside, whereas mine looks about the same as the edge. I don't know. I think it's probably the same as other people's, really. It is more of an issue in a darker room. You can just see mine is, I think, slightly lighter than the edge, but not by much. And I do just love all of this room. But then there's the ghosting, and the ghosting is actually in line with the 10.3, the Go 10.3, which is a non-BSR device. So I think we were all expecting the BSR to perform better than this, but you can really still see a lot of the icons there. You can still see a ghost of the image behind that. And that's a bit of a surprise. And if this device had been sold as a non-BSR device, then I'd say, like, yeah, of course, it's just a larger Go 10.3. I'd be quite happy with that. And in a way, I don't think Boox can win here because, well, they've sacrificed the screen performance for battery in the Go 10.3, and everyone was really happy with that. They were like, I don't really miss the BSR. I'm really happy that we've got a good battery performance. But then this device comes along with ghosting, And because it's got BSR, everyone complains about it. I don't think it is too concerning. It shouldn't really just like make you think, gosh, I'm definitely not going to do it. Happily, the battery life does seem to be quite good here. Not as good as fully non-BSR devices, I think, but time will tell with that one as well. But in a way, I think we're all just wondering, why didn't they just call this a Go 13 and not advertise the BSR if it was in there at all? Just have it really good battery life. And yeah, it's just a bigger Go. It would be absolutely brilliant. That would have been a really easy sell, to be honest. And then they could have come later with a Tab X2 perhaps with BSR. But it is really special, and having used this for a week or so now, I can tell you that I do love all this room on here. And the thing is, it is only about 1 or 2% darker than the Go 10.3. And if you're used to using e-ink, then you don't really mind a little bit of ghosting. You kind of understand that's part and parcel with the territory. But look at that, it's just not as good as one would expect from a Boox device. And something I've been thinking about quite a lot as I've been reviewing this device so far is this kind of adage that reviewers have, that you don't review a device on updates that might happen. You review it on what there is right now. And frankly, that ghosting is not as good as it should be. It's just a bit surprising. I think that's the main thing here. I'll keep you updated if they do update things, and I'll keep you updated if I hear anything from them as well to explain that performance. I'd rather have black and white with ghosting than a collider-free, this darker screen and grainy layer. Yeah, I think JF, I think you've really hit the nail on the head. Like, but there are some people who are screaming for this to have been a color with BSR color device with a front light as well. Maybe I was expecting too much, you know, that's the thing. This is my point. I'm like, well, the Manta didn't disappoint at all. I was completely like exactly what I was expecting this to be is exactly what it was. Maybe the only thing that I wasn't expecting, the only thing I'm slightly disappointed with is the actual folio doesn't feel quite as high quality as I was maybe expecting it to be, but they have gone for something that's easy to clean. That's their kind of, and it's going to be hard wearing. And I think the elastic, they spent such a lot of time responding to people's complaints about their pen loop, but the elastic pen loop is not for me the option. I don't know, I haven't tried swapping it out because it's not that big a deal. But they made such a big deal and they've given you like 4 pen loops in the box or something like that, including the ones you can cut. But apart from that, the Manta was exactly what I was expecting, whereas the Boox has got a really nice case now, really lovely textures on here as well. I would have loved to have seen a stand-up case as well. But yeah, the colors are great, I was just expecting a little bit less ghosting, but hopefully their algorithms will improve and that'd be really good. And I was expecting that background to not be quite as dark. But again, it isn't a problem. These are nitpicking. They aren't going to cause me issues when I use it. On my desk, I largely use it on a stand, and the keyboard is always ready to go to switch into Bluetooth mode. Because working with any type document on this screen is exactly what it's for. And I'll come back to the keyboard case a little bit later on. And yes, Harry, I'm just about to do that one because I can kind of mock up what it would be like with the keyboard case. Don't have a keyboard case just yet. Now, this was a bit disappointing so far on the Manta, that the typing hasn't been great on the Manta, and I have put Word and Docs on there, and you can type away on the Manta if you so choose. But the Boox Note Max seems far more ready to go, far more like a native experience in those places, because you have to side load to get those in. So that is essentially what the keyboard case is going to look like. You can see you've got room enough for a pretty large keyboard really, with a few periphery keys. It's certainly going to fit in a full size row of letter keys. It's certainly, if they don't put a proper size keyboard on there, I will be shocked. Whether it's going to have a nice big British mode enter key there, I don't know. Let's go ahead and go into Word next, because that would be one of my destinations to type, that and Docs. I don't know if it's on, but it's not. There we are. Yeah, typing on the Boox Go Max is going to be a good time, but again, why am I limited to just these modes? Because again, balanced mode was good enough for typing and was really great for eliminating ghosting, and ultra fast was great if you really did want to get some speed out of it. So there we are. I don't know why they haven't put those in there as well. And it is very responsive for typing, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for schools, if you have Microsoft 365 as a core service, if you're like me and you have your own Microsoft 365, which you use for all your home stuff, and you have a school one to log in as well, you can do the work mode apps on there as well. It's great for that. Yeah, that's the Keychron K3. I'm thinking of splashing on one of the Hall effects Q3s. What do you think? Yeah, and it should be fine for using it in terminals. Absolutely. Yeah, for PDFs and Ankis. So yeah, sounds like it's going to be good for that. I'm looking forward to trying the keyboard case. Will it make it far too heavy and bulky? I don't know. I'll just show you at this point as well what you would probably like about this would be to have, yeah, maybe a Word open on one side. If I can do that. I know on my Lenovo I was using, I actually couldn't use split screen with Word. Now you can use split screen. You can have split screen Word on this side, for instance, and maybe a PDF on this side, and they're still both perfectly acceptable sizes. You could type away on this. You can make something I have already done. You can make the one you're typing on a bit bigger for a time, and then slide across to make the one you want to read and annotate on this side a bit bigger, and then move this across to type. And then when you just want to get rid of the whole thing entirely, you can do that. So the split screen mode is going to be a good time. If you're looking for a large screen for multitasking and looking for different things, then you've got that. This is the one for that. This is the one for that reason currently. If the use case I've just looked at like appeals to you, you can not worry about the ghosting and that will work just fine. It's not a major deal there. Yeah. To write your masterpiece with a Bluetooth keyboard, then well, okay, with a Bluetooth keyboard, then this. I was thinking which one to write a book on might well be a Supernote, but typing isn't currently that good on the Manta. So, but it is better on the Nomad. So again, maybe that's something. Is it the case that actually they're finding it harder to code for this screen at this size? I don't know. On the Note Max as well, you can use and on all Boox devices, you can use the handwriting recognition directly into anything that you can type into, basically. So here's handwriting recognition directly into Word, and you can see it got that. So that might be worth considering. And if you like the idea of sort of writing like that and then flipping it around into the keyboard case mode, that might be a good use there if you're looking to write your masterpiece. And then the keyboard case is going to be in mid-January there, I'm told. Although that doesn't look quite as good typing in split screen mode as it did in full screen mode. So let's just check that. Ah, interesting. So it did look better in full screen mode than it did in split screen mode there. Let me just check that. If I go onto full size, because I tried this, how does it when I go to the 3/4 screen? Yeah, that's back to looking really good. Yes, it does. So it looks good in the 3/4 screen or the full screen, but it actually looked a bit wobbly, a bit strange when it was in its half screen mode. So I wonder if that's just a DPI issue. As a Boox device, it is something that you are going to have some issues with. With Boox, optimizing for different apps is always going to be something that you're going to have to spend a bit of time learning how to do. I think maybe changing the DPI setting when you're in that split screen mode might change that as well. And on that stand, you can have any reference documents you might need to use while you work on your computer, or of course you can type away on it or make notes. But you can also fire across documents straight from your PC. So let's have a detailed look at using it as an extended desktop for your PC. So I've been asked for a quick video about the Note Max and using it as an external monitor on the computer here. And well, I have been writing an article here on the Note Max. I haven't quite got the keyboard case yet, but I've been using the Bluetooth keyboard and it's been a really good time. I'm just finishing editing that, but I'd like to edit that in the full version of Word really, just to get that finalized. And also when you're editing, having more than one screen is really, really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and install Space Desk here. And Space Desk is an app which is free for non-commercial use. And that's going to allow this just to become an external monitor for my main PC. Now I have used this before on here, and generally I've been using that alongside the Tab Ultra C Pro, which is a Kaleido-free color display. Now I do think that color makes more sense as an external monitor than black and white does. However, this is the latest Carter 1300 black and white display, so let's see how that goes. And of course, you've got the larger screen real estate here. Now, the fact that you can buy this, a full Android tablet, at about £650, which is cheaper than an equivalent sized e-ink monitor was before, I probably would recommend that. If you just thought this was part of your workflow, I'd probably recommend getting the full e-ink tablet anyway. The way it works, if you've got the driver console installed on your computer, it just detects that anything on the same Wi-Fi with the Space Desk app, it detects that as an external monitor. So there it is, looking good. Let's see if I can get it going on here as well at the same time. Yep, there we are. I've now got 5 monitors connected to the same PC. Wonder if it'll slow down at all. But I'm actually just going to use it, pop it behind my keyboard. An ideal setup with the wires there, but I'm going to use that as the main screen for my text to be on whilst I edit, and I'll be able to bring things in from the text on the main screen, and yeah, should be good. One thing also to say is the Space Desk does work with pass-through, so actually this mouse here, it does become a mouse for the PC, and I can control all of the screens with this mouse. So once the Boox Note Max does have a keyboard case, then actually you'll be able to use the keyboard case and pointer and control an external laptop or computer as well this way. So let's see how it performs. So one of the very first things that I'll do here is I'll put both of them into their native resolution. So they've come through actually with very low resolution. I think they'll work better in their native resolution there. Although I do need to scale this one because it's come through at 100%. I don't want that. I want that to come through probably 200% there. So the icons are actually a sensible size. And then, yeah, take my document, fire it across to there. That looks really quite good in my opinion. How does that same thing look on the Tab Ultra C Pro? I am on the A2 mode here, and I can tell you finding a mouse on here is always going to be an issue. So what I do is I've just got double tap control to give me find the mouse like that. That's in Power Toys, I think. Someone in the audience suggested that once upon a time. So here it is on the Tab Ultra C Pro, and actually I think that does look a bit better. You can see that's really nice and quick. Yeah, typing on there is nice and responsive. It's good. And what mode am I in here? I'm in balanced actually, so actually I would probably use this on ultra fast. It should be even better. Yeah, that's really quick. And because this is BSR done properly, you can see it's looking really, really good. And as I said, I can, should I wish to, that is odd, it's worked before. The keyboard and mouse, yeah, the pointer is, for some reason, not the keyboard input. So I don't know why that's not connecting there directly. I do think the ideal format for this will eventually be a 13.3 inch color from Boox in the sort of format as the Note Max. So that's what we're going to test today though, is how does the Max handle things. And one thing I can say that I've already noticed from using the Note Max to type this is I actually missed a couple of kind of grammar points because they're just not quite as easy to see. The little underline there when it's not like highlighted red. And that's the thing, you'll be really used to seeing a red squiggle for spelling and a blue squiggle for grammar, and they aren't quite as easy to see here as they are on a full monitor. But one nice thing about this workflow is now I can use full Word. I'm going to actually use Word on the Note Max, and I'm going to use the original draft on my main monitor behind it. And what I'm then going to be able to do is sort of copy things down as I edit this final run through. I really don't want the Copilot icon to keep bonging up, so I'll try to get rid of that. At least it's directly in Word now, which is a good thing. And yeah, it's in PowerPoint too, which is what I've been wanting for some time. And for me, this is actually a quite good start for a prompt, which is just create a presentation about the properties of waves for a class studying AQA GCSE Combined Science. What I'd like to be able to do is just to be able to add individual slides with little quizzes maybe. So let's have a little look if I can just add a slide. Yeah, there we are, multiple choice quiz. Could be very useful. Okay, useful. Okay, back to the e-ink. I think possibly typing yes, editing not so much. Now this does bear comparison to the Dasung Paperlike 13.3 HD that I tried, which is an older version of e-ink, and it must be said this is now an older version of the Dasung monitors. They have far more up-to-date monitors, which I haven't got available to compare. However, in the video that I've taken this from, I do compare the Paperlike 13.3 from Dasung with the Boox Tab X, and I make the point that the Tab X has the BSR, which actually makes it better for many use cases, even as an external monitor, and that the Tab X was the same price basically as the Dasung Paperlike HD. So you might as well have a full Android tablet attached to your 13.3-inch e-ink screen, in my opinion. And this is still the case. This Note Max is the same price as the newer version of the Dasung Paperlike 13.3. I think there's a bit of a no-brainer there. And looking at the footage and reflecting about what it looked like on the Note Max versus how I remember, and I've used it more recently as well, that monitor, I can tell you that actually this is performing really quite well as an e-ink external monitor, with the limitations that I've discussed already. And given that this new Paperlike HD revolutionary 40Hz monitor from Dasung is only 207 ppi, I know which one I'd be buying, and actually it's $50 cheaper than the Dasung monitor is. So I think yes, for typing, really good. For anything you have to do with a mouse, no, this is just a bit too slow. And it isn't quite as slow on the Tab Ultra C Pro. So there you have it. Would I recommend this over a dedicated e-ink monitor like that I've used from BigMe? Well, I think possibly yes, because it's so much less expensive. I mean, that is some ghosting in there though. And you get a full tablet with the Wacom EMR, etc. as well, so you can use it it's meant to be used. Maybe if you're just looking to read off this, maybe if I was using this as my reference and I was typing into this one and editing into the big monitor, that would actually make more sense. But right now, the bits I'm having to do with the mouse are a bit unusable on here. Learn all your keyboard shortcuts though, and yeah, it's a good time. So I hope that was helpful. I would say yes, at a push, if you want to have a monitor mainly for reading, maybe set up vertically next to your main screen, I think that could be certainly a thing to do. But really ask yourself if you need to see the color of the icons, if you need to interact a lot with the mouse, I think you'll find this screen a bit too slow. Thanks so much for watching. I always use my devices for a minimum of 2 weeks at work before making my full conclusions. And there's lots to love about Boox devices for a knowledge professional's workflow. I'm very much looking forward to using the Note Max at work in the coming 2 weeks. It's probably going to be one that I will carry on using it. We will see. I'm slightly concerned about putting it in and out of my bag and whether it's just a bit too big to carry to work along with a laptop. Really enjoyed the Note Max at work today, but one thing about it is this. I mean, it really doesn't even fit in the normal pocket that I use. I normally put the e-ink tablet in this pocket, but it has to go in the same pocket as my laptop. I mean, it's just huge, which is good on one respect, and I really loved having that extra screen real estate for all the things. But now I've got to dig around and find its pen. You know, that is a nuisance. Success. But you know, there'll be other third-party cases coming along, I'm sure, and I don't think a case is a deal breaker. Although the thinness of the Note Max is incredible. Devices of this size are kind of laptop replacements, really. And we'll find out how good it is as a laptop replacement when we get the keyboard case shortly. For now, I'm going to get it set up for work, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and pull down some PDFs that I need for my work. For instance, my planner, which I can use as a background for a notebook if I like, or I can just annotate on a PDF. I'll let you know which one I prefer. And my teaching documents, which are large PDFs. Now, because it's a Boox device, I can just go ahead and download those directly from the Google Drive app. And I much prefer working in this way because, well, that's just the way that I'm used to doing it, essentially, on all of my devices. I mean, you can download things via the Boox Drop and you can integrate your storage with Google Drive, but I don't see the need to do that if you've got access to the full Android app. I mean, it might just be more convenient that I have a sync to Google Drive button now within the library. Yep, there's all of my Google Drive files just waiting there in the library. It might be that you're either not comfortable with sharing your login details on a Boox device, or that you're simply not allowed to connect your storage to a third-party device for your work. There we go, so that's just downloaded some to my device now. Very nice. One thing that is useful to do with Boox is to go into the library settings and actually add the downloads folder to your paths to be scanned. So what it does is it automatically scans the folders that you tell it to when you open the library. And then when I rescan, it will scan those folders for anything which is a PDF. And you can see now it's found those things that I've just downloaded. For instance, all of my formula for A-level physics looks great on there. And those really big PDFs that I just downloaded, all my teacher notes for my A-level. This is like a 500-page document or something ridiculous like that. And this is going to be the benefit of having this large device, is having the notes there full size to teach from in the classroom. Now, as I said, my standard workflow is just to work on top of a PDF, and I simply have my PDF planner with all of my week sort of laid out lesson by lesson, and I can input in here what I'm supposed to be doing in those lessons on that day. I can also, though, use that as a background, as a template for a notebook. So I'm going to try that now. I mean, surely there should be a select all button, and it only seems to give me the first page or one page at a time, which isn't the way it has worked before. So I'm not sure what they've done there. They clearly haven't got that functionality as it was before. Have I missed something? Because multiple pages did work before. Let me know if you know. So I think I'll be sticking to my PDF workflow after all. Now, the next thing I'm going to get organized is going to be putting on my work profile Microsoft apps. Now, I'm not going to show too much of this because it will probably involve me putting in my password and using the Microsoft Authenticator on here as well, but I'll just sit and get that done. It's in apps and notifications and then enable work profile. And that does give you the option not only to set up work profile and personal profiles, but it also gives you the option to sort of turn off your work profile after a certain time. Very good for mindfulness.
For reading, yes, the Boox is definitely superior. For having my references today, that was really, really useful. Being able to, in my library, even when I'm just in the reader, I could just hit this one, and I've got lots of tabs here where I've got my planner, I've got my different reference documents as well, so they're really quick to get around. And because that now is full size, it's brilliant. You know, that is excellent. Yeah, having full size there, exactly what I can reference to. I can have the sheet the kids are working on, or I can have my notes while the kids are working on other sheets. I can be going between my own, calculating my own examples, working through the examples myself. I mean, it's just great.
So it appears what I have to do is download Intune Company Portal for Microsoft, then make that a work profile copy. So when you're in that setting in apps and notifications, work profile, then you can click on Company Portal. It will install a second version of that, which will have a little badge next to it. And therefore you'll know that is your work profile badge. So I could be installed on my own company portal login, although I don't have that set up with my personal Microsoft 365. So yeah, sign in with my email on company portal, and then a notification should come up from Authenticator app here. So yeah, I've got a one-time password here ready to go. Now it's my company's sign-in page. For some unknown reason, Company Portal didn't want to let me log in. It probably is an issue with my organization rather than the Boox, but I am into Microsoft 365, so I can see all of the files on my entire work system here. And I'm also in my email, which are the two that I really kind of want and need on here on the device. And I've just had an email to tell me something else that I need to do tomorrow. So I'll just add that to my planner. We're getting there in the end. I don't know why it wasn't working with Company Portal, because it has been working in the past on the Tab Ultra C Pro. And I really do like having that option to have the work profile, the badged apps, a separate instance essentially of whichever app that you would like to be logged into a separate account. I I kind of need 2 or 3 of those because I've got several Microsoft logins for several of my different entities. And that's it. That's pretty much all I need on my e-ink tablet for work, and I'm ready to go. I'm really looking forward to this absolute behemoth at work. It's going to be a really useful thing. It's just the right size for reading things like my lesson plan notes and student worksheets and managing those Word documents on e-ink, which is one of the things that I really love about e-ink. Yeah, I'm stoked for this. I feel like it's just going to be a great fit for work. I use my e-ink tablets for a minimum of 2 weeks at work to test them out for you. So once I've completed that cycle, I'll let you know my thoughts, my full review of the Note Max. Boox have 3 main lineups of devices. There's the Go, the Note, and the Tab. Although it's certainly true that the lines between them get pretty blurred at times. Broadly, the Go lineup is thin and light and portable, mainly for reading. Then there's the Note, and that's what it sounds like for note-taking mostly. And I find this is the core use case for an e-ink tablet. And then there's the Tab lineup, which are more PC-like for productivity apps. But one choice that many of you will need to make is between color and black and white. So let's compare the Note Air 4C with the Note Max. Let's have a look at the Boox Note Max versus the Note Air 4C. They were both announced at the same time, but they really are very different devices. One thing I'll say is that the price difference isn't that much to go from the Note Air 4C up to the bigger Note Max. Now, if portability isn't an issue for you, I think that you'll really get along with the larger screen real estate, especially if you're looking at it for work. However, if you want to be using a lot of apps, I do think that color e-ink is well worth looking into, because it's not just about needing to see the difference between different colored words maybe, but it's about the different colored icons, which often you're just far more used to seeing a certain color and your eye is drawn to that color and you can select it more quickly therefore, or it's just about differentiating between 2 icons that look pretty similar to one another in grayscale. So let's go ahead and bring in the Note Air 4C. Now, this is what a screen really looks like when it's dark. It's on this side. There we go. So that is, I think lights right off. Yeah. So that is a much darker screen, isn't it? That is the Kaleido-free screen. And you can see there a much darker screen. And so I can go into a note here. But now, I hope you'll see that. Did you see the ghosting just kind of vanish there when I went into this next one? It's not vanished entirely. But what am I in? I'm in balanced mode. And I find with the balanced mode that generally you can enjoy watching the ghosting just kind of disappear as you change screens. But I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing this white space clear out on the Note Max. The Note Air 4C, I'm seeing the ghosting gradually fade, where it is not doing that in the same way, at least, on the Note Max. You still see just the tiniest little bit of ghosting after a while. Now, so what you do with a color screen is you tend to run the lights quite high, somewhere up in the kind of 2/3, really. And then you can sort of match them up in terms of you see that ghosting just vanish? Still evident slightly there though, surprisingly. Let's go into the HD mode then and get the best. You can just see it sort of fade away. And this is possibly not even as good as the Tab Ultra C Pro does. I don't know if you noticed during the demonstration, but it was far more obvious to me reviewing the footage for this edit that actually the Note Air 4C wasn't performing as well as I would have expected it to. It wasn't removing the ghosting as well as I thought it would. So let's actually bring the Tab Ultra C Pro into this comparison, because this device is really a high watermark for performance in ghosting. This is the performance I would expect for a BSI-enabled tablet to do. I mean, look at it clearing out that white space. There's still a tiny remnant of those apps there, but mostly they're entirely gone. And I do believe I've got this in, the very fastest of the modes. And normally, in balanced mode, I just leave the device in this, and pretty much the ghosting goes entirely. Compare that here to the Note Max, and you can see ghosting from 2 or 3 refreshes ago is still on the screen. And even if I give it a full refresh, I'm sometimes still seeing the remnants of the previous page on there. Yeah. Hard to see on the camera, probably that one. But I'm just confused as to why this does not have the same performance, but also not even the same screen modes. can see that was a full refresh and I've still got that ghosting there. That's odd. It does become eventually a smeary mess, but it doesn't do what the Tab Ultra C Pro is doing, just clear that white space after the ghosting remnants are there. I took some macro shots to really show close up what was going on with these screens, and I did find that actually, yeah, this is doing the job faster than a non-BSR device. I compared it to the Tab Ultra C Pro and the Go 10.3, and the Go 10.3 doesn't have any BSR at all. The Note Max is in the middle here. And you can just see that the Note Max does have faster and smoother animations than the Go 10.3 does on the right. But the Note Max in A2 mode does give more ghosting than the Tab Ultra C Pro on the left in any of its fast modes. I'm also pleased to note though, you can really tell that the Carta 1300 screen on the Note Max does have higher contrast than the Carta 1200 on the Go 10.3. So that's a really good thing about this. And you can see that the Note Max is doing the Boox Super Refresh thing in that it is refreshing a lot quicker than the Go 10.3. You see that? It's just like now a lot of that ghosting has just faded away here on the Note Air 4C. So the Note Air 4C it's a different beast really. It's a color tablet obviously, and it has a different processor. And here's where I want to highlight an advantage, a major advantage of the Note Max. I'll just come right out. You can see the ghosting just fade there. This looks much better. Whereas the ghosting is just staying the same here on the Note Max. So going into CPU-Z, it was already open here, so let's close them both off. Just be fair to them both. They've both got 6 GB of RAM, but when you go into CPU-Z at the same time, faster. Not too bad though on the Note Air 4C, really, not too sluggish. But the Snapdragon 750 is not the same level of processor as the 855. So a 2.8 gigahertz across here and a 2.07 on the Note Air 4C. You've only got one of those very fast cores over here, but 3 of the other cores are actually a higher rating than the Note Air 4C. So in general, you're getting around the tablet. Let's show that now. Let's load some other things up. We've got on both of them. Word, yeah, that bit quicker. But of course the Note Air 4 has got the advantage of the color screen. OneNote next. So much easier to find when you're looking for the purple icon. About the same, not too bad from the Note Air 4C. So the Note Air 4C, certainly not sluggish. It's almost all aluminium build across here. It is slightly thicker. It's a great tablet, the Note Air 4C. There's a reason why it is a lot of people's favorites still. So I'm not throwing out the Note Air 4C here, but certainly very, very good device. You can see that ghosting just diminishing over time there. Something that just isn't happening on the Note Max. Still though, it looks wonderful at this size. And it's good value for a tablet at this size. Now the Tab Ultra C Pro is an older version of Android, so perhaps there's something in that they're just taking their time to actually get it updated and figure out how to code specifically for that version of Android. But I can't really see any reason why that would be the case. And I don't see the reason why they've left out those screen modes here on the Note Max. It's just a difficult one because obviously I want to really love this device. I think it's a really appropriate device for work. Yeah. And perhaps it's something to do with their efforts to optimize for battery, because they did manage that in the Note Air 4C to get it working really well with BSR and with an excellent battery life. Fingers crossed, all will come good. Yeah, Kaleido 3 is based on the Carta 1300, I think I'm right in saying. So Kaleido has the, mashup mic's absolutely right. It has, essentially it's a Carta 1300, but with the color printed layer on top. When you darken certain areas, you can show more or less of different colors, which are currently all mixing to make white across here. And when you darken certain areas, if you dark the green and the blue, then you get red, basically. So yeah, this is the odd thing. Functional dock, there is BSR. It has a BSR mode, but it isn't doing what I normally would expect BSR to do. So I don't know whether they've been, listening to some of the criticism of BSR and they've actually decided to sort of redesign BSR on this device to allow it to have better battery life. That might be one thing. Maybe this is Android 13. Both of them are Android 13. Now, this is on the firmware 4, which, yeah, you can add pages to a Supernote style outline. But Voya's right about that, by the way, when he said that just isn't implemented as well as it is on the Supernotes. So I'm wondering whether, having done that redesign, they just haven't quite cracked the BSR and we're going to get a better firmware. But I've been told, no, this is the firmware, this is what it's been launched as, and those are the intended screen modes that there are. Maybe I think Kaleido 3 is based on Carter 1300, but I could be wrong. Yep, you can definitely do things on the Google Play things on Google. So you can go to Google Chrome, for instance. You can really fire up, yeah, let's do it. Let's try and push it a little bit. Let's go to Auntie Beeb, see what's happening in the world. Yep, and just scroll about. You can see it is responsive, it looks really good. It looks really good to me. What am I in there? I'm in the faster mode of the two. Let's just link in. Let's look at Megan's new show. Yeah, I mean, that looks good. Get quite a bit of flicker there. Can you see the flicker there? That's a hallmark of the BSR. Now in the normal mode, how does that look? It doesn't go into an X mode when it kind of scrolls though. Let's just pop both of them on side by side.
So the Boox Note Max is here, and well, I couldn't resist getting out of the box, and I don't have all that much time, but I'm just going to whip out. Just getting out of the box, and I don't have all that much time, but I'm just going to whip out of the box and have a quick look at it. But if you guys have questions, then I'll try my best.
Now remember, the reason to show this is not because I would generally watch video on here, but it's just showing the screens performing at their best and also giving you a quick look at the sound. I think they must be exactly the same speakers because they sound very, very similar indeed. Let's just have a look there. That's in its
if you guys have questions, then
normal mode.
Answer as many questions as I can in the comments section below. So go ahead and fire them down there. But then I'll come back to the live stream.
And yes, I will test the battery. It's a concern, but it seems okay so far. I'm going to obviously bring that back once I've used it for a little while. Let's go into ultra fast now, which should be its best sort of performance of videos.
Answer as many questions as I can in the comments section below. So
I mean, that's quite incredible.
Then I'll come back to the live stream probably on Thursday night. So I hope to see you there. This is.
But why am I not able?
Isn't it? This is a 13.3 inch. On Thursday night, so
why am I not able to choose that ultra fast mode across here? I don't know.
To see you there. This is the big one, really, isn't it? This is a 13.
I mean, contrast does look really good though, doesn't it? It does look really sharp. So get ready, because this, with the keyboard case, this should have been the main use case of the Note Max. This is how you'll often see it in images in their promotional material, but well, let's see. The Note Max is a wonderful e-ink tablet. It's a 13.3 inch e-ink screen, but I found that bringing it backwards and forwards to work with me was a bit much. Kind of because of the size of my bag, and also because at my work we do actually have to move around during the day, so I was having to pull it in and out of the bag more often than not. Here on the desk at home, however, it's a different story, because when you've got that bit more space, the Note Max can be a really nice companion for your note-taking, for browsing, and for writing, importantly. And I have talked for quite a bit about writing on the Note Max with a Bluetooth keyboard, but it really is completed by this, the keyboard case. And surprisingly enough, I'm actually pleased to see this little detachable pen loop back again, because with the standard book folio, every single time I was putting it in and out of the bag, I was losing the pen and having to dig around in the bag for it. So that should solve that. So let's just see how it clips in and try out the first few bits of typing. And well, guess what I'm going to be doing this afternoon then. Yeah, it kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? Well, this full-sized keyboard on an e-ink device, I think I'm going to enjoy this. But let's find out by actually living with it. It's a good time, isn't it? There's something fascinating about this ePaper technology. You know, I don't think it's quite as simple as the newspapers in Hogwarts. It's not that simple. It's all about it being comfortable with your eyes. It's all about it being a pleasant experience to read and to take notes and to write on. And this Boox Note Max was really, I was thinking this is going to be the one. This was going to be the kind of thing that was going to do it for me, and I was going to be using this. And I really expected to be recommending the Boox Note Max as the one for everybody, the best you could buy, but I don't think that I really can. And I mentioned in my last video on it that what would make or break this would be the keyboard case, and I just don't think they've got it right. It doesn't feel like the case fits together for a start. It doesn't feel like it was even made for this device in a way. If I just show you, it looks okay there, and there is a magnet. There is a magnetic connection between the device with the power button there, and the actual keyboard, but you can just see, look, that magnet is not strong enough to hold it, and it actually slides a good, I don't know what that is, like 3/4 of a centimeter in either direction. It just feels wrong. It just isn't clipping in, and that's not what the previous one did. That is not how it felt when you used the Tab Ultra C. When you close that, it's got a very satisfying, very satisfying clunk that it's closed there. I don't even think it is really, it just feels like it actually fits the device. The case fits the device. So for some reason, the device doesn't seem to fit in the case. There might be a clue in a moment as well. It's also got this little removable clip, which is like, okay, at least my pen is held on. But look, if I get it the wrong way around, it doesn't hold, and there's no like visual indicator that tells me I need to get it this way around. And when I get it this way around, it does hold. There we are. And that is okay. Now at least my pen is in place. But I mean, it's just not right. So we've got this annoying removable one, but it's not easy or straightforward to use as well. So let's just presume, okay, we're going to want to use this thing in its keyboard mode like this. Well, now it automatically rotates, sure, and I can input my pin with either my on screen or with the buttons, with the keys. That's what we want, of course. Okay, and now we have it in its keyboard mode. We're okay. Okay, fine. Doesn't quite fit. Maybe it's designed to go with a color device in the future, because there are, in fact, brightness level keys on here. So that's a thing that could indicate that this is actually not just a Note Max keyboard case, but actually their 13.3 keyboard case. And you think, okay, I can forgive it if it's got a really good typing feel. Okay, I can certainly forgive it. Let's get typing on it then. I'll go into Word, why not? And I've done a little bit of typing. Well, I've done quite a bit, because I really want to love this. Really want to love this. Oh, double press there. And it just doesn't, it just doesn't feel like a premium typing experience at all. And this plastic it's very soft plastic. So it's, I don't think it's really going to scratch the screen when it's on there, because the screen is most likely harder than it. But it's not got a nice soft touch to it. There's a kind of graininess, almost like it constantly feels dusty almost. And when I look at the keys, I don't know if I mentioned a double press there, and it's been mentioned by Jeffrey Moss, who says he's got these accidental double spacebar presses. And I've been counting, I've had that 4 times in the time that I've been using it as well. So it does happen, but it doesn't happen sort of all the time. So let's just have another little spread on it. No, that was okay, so I didn't do that. And I think what it might be, it looks like the keys just aren't really quite set in the right way. That you can possibly just see it looks almost slightly bent, that spacebar key. It's not even like higher up in the middle. It looks kind of like it's higher up, sort of 2/3 to one side. And also the enter key, the shift key there, actually, can you see that? It looks like it's bent down at the end. And it almost feels like it must be supposed to be like that, but I just think that it's not. And the same on this shift key, so maybe it is supposed to be like that. But it isn't a good ergonomic feeling, that's for sure. It doesn't inspire you with confidence. Now also lifting it around, and it's nicely secure in there at the bottom there, but where it comes off when you lift it, it comes off at the top there like that. So there's that issue with it as well. And I just think, you see that? So it comes off here rather than like at the bottom. I just think that there were better options for this as well. Then you think, well, okay, all right, I can live with it. At least I've got a keyboard case. It's an option. I can leave it in its normal case most of the time. But, you know, it's not an expensive one. It's just what it is. But then you look at the price and it's like $150. You just think, well, for $150, I could buy a Bluetooth mechanical keyboard for sitting here on my desk, and I could buy myself an inexpensive Bluetooth one that could fit in my bag. I could, you know, take my pick out of those two, and then I can just use the case that came with it, which the case that came with it is a really nice case. And there's nothing wrong with the orange leather of this. It's quite a nicely made overall case. It just doesn't seem to fit with the quality of the device. And that's been the conclusions of some of the other reviewers as well. And I'm just finding it not the premium experience that I was expecting, given the absolutely really premium experience of the Note Max itself. The actual tablet is great, but just from the get-go, it just hasn't felt like the promise that it kind of lives up to. See that? It's just coming away. Like, I think there's just too big a gap at this side. I think if it was meant for this, that should be right in there. I've toyed with the idea of actually putting myself a little spacer in there, putting a little foam insert or something to just allow it to do that. But and that keeps coming off here. Have I got the wrong way around maybe? No, it was the right way around. It's a bit disappointing. So I've just watched Voya's exploration of this and the flaws, and he's talking about these, whatever you'd call them, little bumps there that clip into the actual device, and they are pressing on the case itself. So, you know, I really want to like this. I really want to use this, and I'm sort of committing myself to actually using it for a long period of time, so I can give it a full review as part of the review of the device. Well, I shouldn't have to do this at all. I do think this is, you know, it's not good enough really, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually attach some little spacers. So I've just got some little, what they're called, command strip things, and I'm going to cut a little square of this material and just stick it here, 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 and here, just to raise the thing off the device, maybe make it just a little bit less likely to damage the screen. What would be ideal would be if I had some of that kind of microporous stuff that you use to sort of stick cases onto things, where it would also stop it slipping around. That would be quite cool as well. And I do think, you know, I think that at the very least Boox could do would probably be to actually ship out something for people to stick on the keyboard case themselves, just to space it out. And just like that idea of sticking a foam insert in the side there, okay, they could do that, but you shouldn't really have to, should you? When you've paid such a price for this thing, shouldn't really have to. Well, let's see how this goes. Looks pretty bad. The thing is, I do really want to write on this. I really want to be able to write on my Note Max. And I think I should probably stick with my own advice really and go for just stick with the Bluetooth keyboards that I've got and enjoy using those with the normal case. But yeah, I'd love this to work. Know the truth then. I think I've definitely made that situation worse. Although it's not sliding as much. Yes, it is. No, it's definitely made the situation. It's definitely made it worse. So ideally you need something even thinner than that if you wanted to do that kind of modification. But I don't think you should do that modification. I just think if you bought one, you should probably send it back. There's no delete key on it, and I find that really frustrating. That, you know, am I the only one that like uses both backspace and delete like when I type? Is it just me? But I need both. I need both options. You know, I need both options all of the time. There's no delete key. There's just a backspace key. And that function, and it says delete there, but function and delete doesn't allow to do that. And alt and delete doesn't do that either. Maybe it's command. There's no hardware like trackpad off key, which I'd like to see. There's lots of little shortcuts labeled on there, but alt T is the trackpad off key. So that's okay. It's stuff like when you engage the keyboard, the by default, the on-screen keyboard comes up, but you have to turn it off in settings. But that should be off by default when you've connected a physical keyboard, surely. So stuff like that just isn't as well thought through as it maybe could be. Now that trackpad and the whole keyboard should be big enough that you don't accidentally press it much, but I have accidentally pressed it a few times. Because we don't have the proper BSR modes, typing is a bit slower than it should be as well. So it isn't up to that scratch of the Tab Ultra C Pro, where typing is slick and fast. I do also think, the debate continues as to whether you really want a dedicated keyboard case. And I talked about this a lot with the Note Air 4C versus the Tab Ultra C Pro. Which one would you get? Would you get the one that had the dedicated keyboard case if you were a typist? Or actually, is it better to just carry around a second keyboard? I think at this price, I know what I'd be doing. I really expected them to nail it, but I've been left a little bit unsure here. We've been waiting for an e-ink laptop for such a long time, and I really thought Boox would have just got this right. It doesn't seem like that level of device here yet. Sure, it's actually not an expensive device. Let's not forget they have delivered a 13.3-inch e-ink at £650, but I wouldn't add the $150 for the keyboard case on top of that, just for this laptop-ish experience. And that's disappointing because I really want an e-ink laptop that just works. I really want e-ink screens in my life because they're great, but there are just loads of great options for keyboards for far less than $150. I mean, you look at the mechanical keyboards you can buy for $150. It's incredible. And yeah, I felt sure there was going to be room for a full function row. Maybe the early units are a bit faulty with things like that double press, but there we go. And that's the difference, with Boox, it's all there. It's just not fully formed yet. It's like the promise of this was just like so good. And in many ways, it is still so good. And I'm not complaining about the thing. I think still that it's going to be the right choice for many of you. Sitting there thinking that you want a 13.3-inch e-ink, you do, but it isn't what it could have been. Whereas Supernote, they made us wait. They made us wait for some time whilst they agonized over things like the pen loops, but they got it right. And Boox, they have given us this. And it's not where it could be. So I don't know, you can still decide whether this is right for you or not. I'm still living with it. I'm going to be typing on it. I'm going to be working on it for my writing use. I'm going to find out whether those things really bother me long term. We will see. But that's why Manta is the number one right now. It's because they got it exactly what they said they were going to do. That's what we got. Okay, so I will keep going along with that keyboard case, and I'll let you know how I find it after I've honestly used it for long enough, because I think that you do need to live with a thing to find out if those things that really just annoyed you at first, did they really properly annoy you? Or are they actually just things that just kind of you think would be a nuisance? Or are there things that creep up that actually really annoy you as well? How many people love writing on e-ink laptops? Yeah, it really just needs to feel like a MacBook writing experience and super stable. Absolutely, yeah. I'm convinced somebody's going to get that right in the near future. It might be Lenovo, you never know. Futura got the Note Air 4C and the Note Max from Amazon, with the intention of returning one of them, but I think I ended up returning both and trying the Tab Ultra C Pro instead. Yeah, it's still a solid device. I mean, it must be due Tab Ultra C Pro 2 or something soon though, for it to, so might want to wait for that one. Yeah, the typing is a bit too slow on it, yeah. I don't like the flimsy Microsoft Surface type laptop thingies. I'd rather a strong clamshell keyboard case, one that really holds the tab firmly in the attachment for the keyboard case. Yeah, don't disagree at all with that. I really liked, the one I liked was the Lenovo P12 matte. It was really good. You could detach the bottom so you could carry it around like a tablet as well without having to take the whole thing out of its case. It's quite good as well. I agree to a point here. It's terrible, but then I type on it for a bit and I'm like, yeah, I'm really enjoying typing on the big e-ink. So, give me a moment for, just to actually make up my mind, because I think honestly, it's broken. I think it probably needs a recall. I think you were right, absolutely. I think enough people, another comment that I've had on my channel as well from one of my members incidentally. So thank you very much, Oxcruiser, for that. That's very, very helpful. He's actually had 2 keyboard cases that both had that spacebar issue. So just for anyone to have that spacebar issue is not good enough really. And yeah, I've only had it 4 times, but really that does need to be solved. I think probably does need a recall, does need a rethink from Boox, please. There's definitely a use there for some people. I've just been disappointed by the fit and finish. And if it was cheaper, or if it was part of a bundle, I'd say, oh yeah, you might as well, perhaps. So I definitely use delete and back. Yeah, I'm sure most of us do, right? It's just like delete one way or delete the other. You need both keys, don't you? It's so natural to have both keys. The question is, can you put the Note Max into your lap and it work nicely? Then I suppose is what we're getting at. Now, I agree with Sharbax that I don't like the ones where the flap comes off the device to the back. That one, you're never able to lap that. It's reasonably comfortable to lap. Reasonably comfortable to work in your lap. That's okay. I've done that a fair bit already, actually. I don't know why, but it doesn't feel, the top of it doesn't feel very sturdy, is all. The top of it feels a bit wobbly, like that. It's far from perfect, actually. And just putting it together and feeling it like slide up like that, you're just like, what? Okay. Problem is the photo is worse than what they have on the cheaper older products there. I hope everyone's doing well, enjoying the ink world and better eyes. Yeah, absolutely. Except for me, who spent the entire day here just staring at these two LCD screens, making, doing my editing on these guys. That's what my entire day has been, basically. Just staring at these screens. I've got 3 of them, making content, which has been wonderful. I am not complaining at all. But it's been, the nice thing about that is when you got an e-ink tablet and you can do a little bit of something still productive. You can do a bit of writing on a keyboard with e-ink, or you can just take yourself off and do your reading or something like that. Change your posture, sit somewhere else. I'm thinking of working on the RLCD on the standing desk behind me. That's been really nice to be able to change that up and work on different types of screens. I think variation is the key to having better eyes, happier eyes. And Sharbax filmed the first e-ink laptop back in 2017. I think they have gotten it perfect by now. Yes, they did have that case you could slot in, didn't they? That was on the, not even the Note Air lineup, that was on the old Note lineup, wasn't it? Yeah. There is the Tab XC, which explains why there's a keyboard shortcut here for Frontlight. It uses the same keyboard case. But I'll certainly say that the e-ink laptop form factor is still out there to be conquered. But I can also say that it seems that mine was an early batch, and that by all accounts, those manufacturing issues have been sorted now. But I'd say, even so, with the price, probably stick to the case that you get and carry yourself an inexpensive Bluetooth keyboard. Typing's good though on the Note Max. Overall, well, here's my final conclusions, and they're positive. It's been a while now that I've been using the Note Max, and I certainly feel it's time I owe you a full review. So I thought, well, what I wanted the Note Max to do was to be a typewriter. And so I thought what I'd do is write the whole script for this video on the Note Max, and I'd tell you how that goes. But some quick highlights, let's start with that. It is great for layouts. I do like the new infinite scroll that you get in the Boox Notes app. And you can add that just by basically increasing the margins to any size that you like. And you've now got a really big canvas that you can just pan and zoom around. And what I love is just having those PDFs that I need to reference to hand at full size. That's really good. And it does work very well as a typewriter, although the debate between using it with the keyboard case or just to have a Bluetooth keyboard, which I must say I have been really preferring. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And the thing which made me want to go back away from it once I'd finished testing out at work was that it was just too big for my bag. Now, if I had to stay at the same desk at work the whole day long, then it wouldn't bother me. But because I have to move between different classrooms, this is my bag. And I have to use my school laptop. I just find, for instance, that the Manta fits in just that much more easier than this thing does. But it does fit, as you can see. Putting that in and out of your bag 4 or 5 times a day, it's not what I'm about. But that being said, it has been sandwiched tight in that bag for long periods, and there certainly seems to be no damage. So It does seem to have been really robustly made, even given its size and its thinness. This tablet is 4.6 millimeters thin, so it's incredible they've managed to make it so robust at that size. The split screen is of course incredibly useful as well, and I think that is possibly one of the main reasons to go for this tablet. You can have whatever you're working on one side, and let's say that reference PDF on the other. I think it's taken me a little while to get around to this review because I think I'd really built this up to be something that it maybe wasn't. And when I got out of the box, it let me down in some ways. But gradually it has worked its way back into my e-ink life, and it pretty much sits here in this laptop mode on this desk, and I do get a lot out of it. For example, I am often referencing my notes in OneNote, which of course is exactly what I've been typing this in and what I've been referencing throughout this review so far. And more recently, I've been reading Dante, and I'm just loving having the space for the whole text and the footnotes on one layout. I mean, this is really great. I've been looking at multiple translations, I've been studying them, it's been a really good time. And I think this thing is great for studying, whether that be uni notes, whether that be Bible studies, maybe classic poems like me. It is a really great time. And it's all on the Carta 1300 e-ink screen, which is the latest and therefore the highest contrast e-ink screen that you can get. We've talked a lot on this channel about whether it's using the BSR, which is the Boox Super Refresh, the GPU-enabled high frame rate, that should give it the crispest e-ink look with the highest refresh rate possible. Whether it's doing that at its very best. Now, it definitely does have BSR. Now, if it didn't, the contrast would be much lower in the faster refresh mode. And actually, the entire time, pretty much I'm living in the fast refresh mode, which is the A2 mode. It's incredibly responsive in that A2 mode. And when you go back to the Boox Note Max from another tablet, which doesn't have that high refresh mode, you really do notice it, that every action is just that little bit longer to happen, and you do get more of that ghosting as well. And whenever non-BSR tablets go into that A2 mode, you see a much greater loss of detail and a much greater loss of contrast. So I'd much rather have that BSR than not. Now, other reviewers have said that actually they prefer it, that Boox have now simplified the screen modes from 4 and sometimes 5 down to 2 and sometimes 3 with the Regal. So you can now see it just as the A2 mode when you need a bit of speed and the normal mode when you want it to look its best. And the Regal mode is best for text apps when you don't want to see a full refresh every single page. It should do a great job of maintaining that clarity without having to do a full page refresh there. But I personally do miss the balanced mode that we had in most other BSR enabled tablets from Boox. I just thought it was something that wasn't broken really. But what was broken with the BSR enabled tablets was the battery performance. And I'm happy to report now that certainly standby times are much better. And now it sits on the desk for weeks on end and it's ready to be woken up in a moment and reference something or type something. So good job in that, at least Boox. It is a great processor. It's responsive enough for what it is. It's not going to beat the very latest Snapdragon phones and tablets, but for e-ink, actually the processor is right up there. It's a Snapdragon 855, and overall we're just getting a much better responsiveness than from most e-ink tablets. Now, there are issues with the screen not being as bright as it could be. If, for instance, if you do a dark square on the Notes app and you pull it around, then you can see that the screen is slightly lighter behind that square. There must be something therefore about the way in which the black is pulled down or the white is pushed up. Maybe a different voltage that it uses. Maybe it uses a higher voltage for the quicker refresh than it does for the whole screen refresh, because the background, the general tone of the screen when it's not got any content on it, doesn't get as light as that. You can just see it being lighter behind it there. You can also use it as a monitor, and here it is just running Space Desk from my computer. And yeah, you can access any of your things, and as it's a BSR enabled tablet, it does look really quite good. And to some extent, you can use it as an alternative to a laptop. And this is where I really wanted to excel. And unfortunately, it's just a little bit let down by Android. The Android apps, they're just simply not as fully featured. They're not as the same level as the desktop apps. I don't know why it has to be that way. It's certainly not Boox's fault though that Microsoft, for example, hasn't put that kind of level of development into their Android apps. And also color is just useful for apps. It just is. Now, I was really expecting this device to be made by the keyboard case, and that for me was the use of this device. And unfortunately, Boox, they've really not shown the way here. I've added some little pads here just to keep it elevated off the screen when it's closed up with these weird sharp bits putting pressure on your e-ink screen. There have been issues with the manufacturing, with some of the key presses. It hasn't felt well manufactured, it hasn't felt polished, it hasn't felt like it justified the price tag of the keyboard. You would be better, I think, just saving your money, buy a nice mechanical keyboard for your desk, a nice Bluetooth keyboard and mouse combo to take with you. Overall, that'll be cheaper than just the price of this keyboard case. So I think that those two things, the ghosting and the keyboard case, they have just surprised us because it's not really up to Boox's usual high standards. The ghosting, certainly, they normally get e-ink just right. But all in all, I have enjoyed typing this on it. I have enjoyed having it here as my typewriter and reference on the desk. And possibly if you're looking for that in your life, then this would be a great device for you. Also, some of the keyboard issues perhaps were first batch issues. I do have a number of viewers who've told me that they have had their keyboard case replaced. They had the double space issue, for instance, at first, and it's been fine. The double space has happened to me twice during this review, and there's one example of it right there. I think you can perhaps see some of the keys are just a little bit wonky on mine. I think just generally, I don't think the manufacturing tolerances on this keyboard case were quite as they should have been. There was also room for a function row up here, I think, and a proper delete key, not just a backspace. And you'll certainly need to remember the Alt+T function, which turns the trackpad on and off so you don't get those annoying things when you're typing and you accidentally touch it and moves the cursor to a different row. Here you can just see that key is not quite seated in properly, is it? I think there's something gone slightly wrong with this keyboard case manufacturing. Maybe this is just the first batch though. And lastly, for an e-ink tablet, is it overkill? For the core uses of e-ink, then maybe the Note Max is a bit much, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so enjoying the Supernote Manta. It's just exactly what an e-ink tablet should be. But it is still brilliant for those three core uses. It's great for reading, it's great for note-taking, and it's great for writing. It does excel for reference though, and I think if that's your use case, I think this is your choice in 2025. But then what you have is this versatility of this open Android system, being able to make it do whatever you want it to do. And so if your core use case is different to another person's, you can adapt this to make it what you want it to be. It's a minimalist device, but it's your minimalist device. And so even here, just sat static on a desk, is it a bit much? No, it's flipping brilliant. It really is great. So what do you think? I'd really love to hear your thoughts as well. Your opinions are incredibly valuable to other people who are looking to make this choice. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know if there's anything else you think I've missed.